Good evening and welcome to was it Monday? It feels like a Thursday, Monday night edition of Buddy Martin Show, Meldon Law Monday. And it's been busy, busy, busy as everybody in this business the last couple of days and weeks. And we're going to get right to action here with Shane Matthews, whose show has been on fire with lots of questions and some answers. I want to say tonight I've kind of figured it out something for the first time. And I won't say it's the answer, but I now see, after kind of feeling hopeless about the future of Florida football this weekend, and really hit the bottom. And so, you know what? I don't know if this is even fixable. I finally had a chance to chat with some people today where I began to see some kind of path forward, which I couldn't do 48 hours ago. I know you were feeling the same way. Let's dig into it tonight and figure out what to do. We'll have Shane, followed later by Loren Meadows and Brenden Martin and Franz Beard all join us tonight. Talking about what else? Billy Napier's future. How long will it be the coach? How long? Tomorrow? I hear his agent's in town. I hear he's in town. Well, we'll have to see about that. But lots of stuff going on here in this world right now. And we're going to take a quick break. Come back with our open, I guess, Brenden, right? And we'll do this.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
With Shane Matthews, who we won. He is at the Gainesville headquarters. I'm in Panama City. I'm Buddy Martin. The program brought to you tonight by Meldon Law. And Shane, you were a busy guy on your show today, and I know there's so many questions you couldn't answer them all.
No, it was there were a lot of texts, a lot of messages. Yeah, I couldn't get to hardly any of them, really, buddy.
I saw, yes. We had a few today. We went up on our show live today and got hammered with about 1,400 people who want answers. So we don't have them, but I do have a thought. And I do have a way in my mind after talking to one or two key people who have their finger on the pulse. Matter of fact, I think you share some of those thoughts because I saw you also said what I said in my preview, that you felt like the money people would make the decision, and that's what I've heard too.
Yeah, I mean, that's just I don't know what's going to happen, buddy. I'm at the point now. I'm exhausted talking about it.
I know.
Yeah, I just want to see better football. That's all I care about. We all have to agree that it has not been good, and hopefully we'll go to Starkville and play better.
Yeah, I mean, that's oversimplification somewhat. Of course, we want to play better, but it is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting because I know you get 2 and 3 and 4 texts a minute about what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. Everybody knows something, right? I did get some decent information today. The biggest question is, of course, is how long is Billy going to be here? Now, you can start anywhere you want to with this whole thing. It starts with who is the head coach going to be, right? And you mentioned this on your show. You can't fire a coach so you got somebody to take over, right? And right now, that person doesn't appear to be on the scene. And I've read and heard and been told that the person making those decisions is not on campus right now.
Yeah, I mean, if or when they decide to do something, I don't know if there's anybody you can make an interim, and I don't think it really matters at this point. I'm just hoping we can go out and have some fun and play football. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, we're playing a team that's not very good. Now they have an offense, even though it struggled at times, can cause some serious issues. So that I'm anxious to see. It's going to be a tough deal for us because it's 11 a.m. start there. None of our teams ever play well in Starkville, and you got to get up real early, pregame meal, all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Shane, we all have the answers when it comes up. Lane Kiffin or Urban Meyer? My guess is it'll be neither one of those people. I don't think they're necessarily hireable at this point. It could be Lane. I know he's the favorite. There have been a lot of people involved in the decision making who are not associated with the university. A lot of people who are calling shots. I think the first thing they want to do is stop the bleeding, if that's even possible. You don't want all your best players to be leaving, because what's going to happen to guys? That we all know the future. I'm hearing. Here's a scenario I heard today, and I buy in on. After having a weekend of feeling lost and hopeless, and it is that there is a path forward. It involves getting Billy to agree to take a sort of a lame duck status the rest of the year. Let him coach the team, pretty much write off what you got, except that, your young players. And then they would hire a quote unquote general manager style person to come in during the year and help take care of business that a head coach would normally do. And I've heard a bunch of names thrown around, and that person would then be a placeholder until they're ready to hire their new coach, who may or may not be Lane Kiffin. I don't know who it will be, but there's no way they can make a hire on a coach right now. Shane, you said it yourself today. You can't just go in the middle of a guy's season and say, hire you. So that's really the only play they got that I see.
Yeah, I mean, you can't hire – nobody's ever hired a coach in the middle of a regular football season. It's not possible. Yeah, the general manager thing's interesting. I think we've had a general manager, and maybe we still do. I'm not sure, but I think that's where college football is headed. I think it's a lot of teams are going to have general managers. I think they're going to probably have a salary cap at some point, somehow. At least they need to have one. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we all have our opinions. We all hear things, and whether they're right, wrong, or whatever.
What do you hear? What's the strongest thing you hear, Shane?
I mean, it varies, buddy. I like I said, I turned my phone off for a while today because I was busy doing other things. I didn't have time. People don't realize this is not my job. Yeah. I have a real job. This is just stuff that I do for fun. Yeah. And like I said, it's exhausting, and I don't have any kind of insider information. I think the only people that do are at the athletic associations and the boosters. Well, they're the ones that are going to make these decisions.
I think it's the boosters, the rich boosters calling the shots.
Well, I mean, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, here's what I would say. But if you had to pay $40-something million, whatever the grand total is, you would hope you have some kind of say. But
of course,
here's all I will say is whoever we hire next, if we do hire somebody, which I think we all think it's going to happen, it better be a blockbuster hire. Yeah. That's all I just – it has to be somebody that has won, plays a fun style of football, knows how to deal with the portal, kids want to play for them. And there's only a few of those guys out there, in my opinion, and people that the fan base – because in today's world of college football, I think you always got not everybody's going to be happy with whoever the coach is. That's just not possible. But you got to find somebody to bring everybody together. And with NIL, as much as people don't like it, I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is, people. You got to find somebody that the fan base, ticket holders, boosters, alumni, whoever, believes in that person, and they give to whatever to bring in talent.
Okay. Care to throw a name or two out?
No, I mean, I think Lane Kiffin is a slam dunk.
He's the guy, right?
Now, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We have a lot of things that I think he would love. I mean, he's got it made in Oxford, but I think the brand is bigger here. It's just not even close. I mean, I'm an Ole Miss guy.
Yeah,
I know the program. I mean, I grew up going to it, and until I became a junior in high school, it was my entire life. But there's a lot of good things about the state of Florida. I mean, he's coached here before. He's got family here. No state income tax. Likes to fish. There's plenty of talent here. I mean, he's going to get that's the thing. He's going to get players no matter where they live. Lincoln Riley's another guy. I know some people don't like him. I have no problem. It has to be somebody that is a big name offensive guy. And that's where I would go.
Well, when you drill down on it, you start thinking this is just the third week of the season. By the end of the year, when Lane's got his team in contention, and you're looking around to see what has happened to the Dan Lannings of the world, I don't see any other candidates out there that get this fan base excited.
No.
And they need to be excited. They need to be all in.
That's why I said I think in today's world it's so important because you need money, and you need a lot of money for NIL. And I know we're going to be getting a portion from the TV deal, whatever it is, and $20-something million every team gets. I don't know. I don't really care. But you got to get somebody to jump on board that the fans like, and they will donate. And again, I think Lane's got a hell of a team. I mean, I think his quarterback's the best player in America right now. And they're going to win a lot of football games because they don't play anybody tough until the end of the year, and they're probably going to be in the playoffs. And, people –
they'll be there. Well, they're good. They got depth.
Yeah. It's going to be, people are like, well, we got to need somebody before this. I said it on my show. I said it on Steve Russell's show. I would not care one bit about high school recruiting this year or portal recruiting, how long it takes to get a coach in here. You have to get the right guy because
he's going to bring 30 or 40. I'm with him.
Yeah. If you get the right guy, they will come in the portal.
Yeah. Well, I think that what we just did there is an exercise is what has to happen. And obviously the Board of Trustees room is that they have to identify the candidates. I would be shocked if they got more than one handful of candidates. I don't see how anybody can possibly. I mean, somebody mentions Drinkwood. Somebody mentions none of those guys are going to get people excited to hear. They just aren't. There's really only one guy. He's more like Spurrier than anybody. We know he's a creative, magical mind. I think we should not downplay the fact that his wife, was married to John Reeves at one time, and he has a daughter.
I don't know. I mean, he's divorced. I don't know if that has anything to do with
his wife. His daughter goes to Florida.
Say again?
His daughter goes to Florida.
Who?
Lane's daughter.
No.
Well, that's what I heard today.
That's false. I will tell you exactly where his kids go to school.
Okay, it's Layla's daughter.
His oldest daughter goes to Ole Miss.
Okay.
His next daughter is a volleyball player at USC, and his son is a 9th or 10th grader at some little school out in California, wherever they live.
Well, I know he has a strong connection. He's always liked Florida. It's been one of his dream schools. He has a great respect for Spurrier, and I think it's a job that he would take. But even then, it has to be the right time. He won't leave his team. No self-respecting coach would leave their team in the middle of a championship run.
No, and who cares? I mean, if if he agrees, I would say, dude, you take as long as you want. We don't care if you show up until February.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. I don't think it matters anymore about high school recruiting dates and all that kind of stuff. And, again, Ole Miss has deep pockets, buddy. If he's the guy that they want to target, it's not going to be easy because he is the man in Oxford, Mississippi. And it could become a bidding war.
Well, I tell you better get that money in here fast because the way it's going on. I wrote this piece this weekend, and I kind of got angry as I was thinking more about it. And maybe I was over the line, but I finally got to a point I thought, I watched Billy's team. I watched him talk about how he's going to change it. I watched how they haven't changed it. I sometimes think he just doesn't get it. I know he's a piece of play caller, but his teams don't have a sense of urgency. And I thought to myself, here's a guy who came in from the outside into my school and your school and got millions and millions and millions of dollars, anything you want to build a team, to build a facility, whatever. And he just kept spending money. We kept saying, okay. And it seems like there's been no accountability, Shane.
Well, I wouldn't say no accountability. I think
where is it?
Well, buddy, I mean, I've seen people who I've played with players that people think are good players and they don't turn out being great players, or they think people are good coaches, they don't turn out being great coaches. It's just been a bad deal, man. Like I said, nothing against Billy, but he's cleaned up a lot. I will say that a lot in the locker room, in the facility.
Statement he made after the Miami game. You'll remember this, all right? After the Miami game, he went to all the things he'd improved. Everything about the kids, about their academics, well, let me finish. Yeah. All the things that the nutrition, how pleased he was with the progress, better leadership. And his statement, his words were, exactly, but we forgot the football part. And that's what happened. They forgot the football part. I mean,
go ahead.
Like somebody said today, somebody said, I'll take the speeding tickets, referencing Georgia. It's nice to have Boy Scouts, and I like them, but, something is not working, Shane. They're over-evaluating players and coaches. They're misevaluating people, and they're making bad judgments.
Yeah, well, that's not just only here at Florida. It happens a lot around the country, and not that we care. Look, like I've said multiple times, Florida has had about 20 years of success in football. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay, let's say 25. Let's say 30.
I'll give Graves a little bit.
Let's just go ahead and say let's round it up to 30 years of 130 something years of football, however long we've been playing.
Okay, all right, whatever.
Okay. Let's say 20 of those 30 that I just mentioned came from two dudes that are Hall of Fame coaches that have it.
Yeah.
Okay. If it was that easy, everybody in America would be so successful coaching football, right? Because everybody would have a Hall of Fame coach. Nobody will ever change my mind that you get lucky sometimes and sometimes you don't. And what I'm saying this time, we need to figure out who that guy is who's had success and can get us to those years of fun football. Doesn't mean you're going to win a championship, but just get us to. It's easier. I shouldn't say it's easier now, but hell, if you get to the 12-team playoff, I think everybody will be happy. I mean, there's going to be people complaining if you lose or whatever, but you got to find that one guy that has it and hire that guy. Figure out a way to hire that guy, whoever it is. I don't care if you think it's some dude. Well, you can't now. You have to hire. It has to be a big name guy.
Yeah, you got no choice. You got to hire one of the big three. You can't hire some guy who's up and comer. And Shane, you're talking. You're preaching to the choir. I lived this whole thing in Florida. I know what you're talking about. I suffered through the days of Bob Woodruff on a 5-5 record is what you rooted for. The bowl game, that was the furthest thing for possibility. I know what it's like to be Vanderbilt, and about that same time, there was a program at Ole Miss that was taken off with Coach Johnny and Ball and Glenn Griffin and that bunch. I remember following them closely. They won some He won 6 SECs and a national championship or 2. So it does ebb and flow. I get what you're saying, but you never know how precious these things are. The night when Florida won their 2nd national championship, I've told this story, and Franz Beard's told it 100 times. We went to eat at Denny's at 2:30 in the morning after the game. Myself, Tim Casey, and Franz. And Franz quotes me as saying this is true. Really learn to enjoy this while you got it, because it won't be here forever. And there it goes. And so you better learn to enjoy it. I don't know. I've come to the conclusion maybe there was something to the curse of the throne shoe. I'm looking for anything. Marco Wilson, whatever.
Yeah, I don't buy into that. I mean,
I know, but I got to come up with some reason.
No, just say. I mean, the facts are, you've had 2 Hall of Fame coaches, and that's when you had success. We got to find the next one.
Yeah, but you see, how we got those coaches was not like you would think. We didn't go out and identify them.
Well, I know that.
I mean, we got Sturrier because Ray Graves. Ray Graves came here in 1960, and he called Bobby Dodd and said, and then he got his brother Edmund told him about this quarterback, and the story. And Johnson.
But I'm talking about as a coach, though.
Wait a minute now. He got to Florida as a player and came back as a coach. There was nothing we did where we went out and got a great coach. We were lucky he was in the family. We got him. Then the second time, it so happened that the president of Utah became the president of Florida, and they wanted to hire Urban Meyer here. Nobody knew who Urban Meyer was. It wasn't like we said, oh, boy, let's go get Urban Meyer. He'll be a great. And so it wasn't like we had a great science to this. So we got really lucky to get 2 guys like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, Steve Russell, on his show today that I was on there with, I mean, he said he went back to the last 50-something years, and Florida, regardless of the sport, has never hired a named coach from a big school. Think about it. It's true. He said the biggest one was Doug Dickey from Tennessee. He said everybody else were just kind of flying under the radar. I mean, Billy Donovan from Marshall, Tim Walton from Wichita State, Mouse Holloway. He was an assistant coach at Buchholz. Urban from Utah, coach from Duke, Charlie Pell from Clemson, which, that wasn't the Clemson it is today. So we've been known for hiring guys that are at lesser type schools, but this time it's going to have to be some big name guy. It has to be.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, Ray Graves was a big name to us because after you've seen Bob Udders football for 8-9 years, you were ready for it.
Well, that's what he said. I mean, Ray Graves had done some stuff at Tennessee. Oh, Ray Graves. I'm thinking of Doug Dickey.
No, at Georgia Tech. Now, look, let me tell you this. This is my life. I lived this. I lived all this stuff, went through it all. And I'm not saying I'm an expert. You know more than I do about the game. But Doug Dickey was absolutely the right person to hire for this job when it was hired. But the problem was they made a deal in the back room for the year before, and Graves agreed to step up to athletic director the following year, because that year he got beat by Georgia by 61-0. They made him promise he would step up the following year. And they went out, the guys in Tallahassee, the governor and senator, went and got Doug Dickey. And although Doug told me he didn't promise he was going to come, but that was not a done deal, but that was the agreement. And then, of course, what happens? Alvarez and Reeves screwed it up by coming on and beating Tennessee, the SEC champion, in the Gator Bowl game. And the coach was Doug Dickey. Doug Dickey was a PK young guy. He came from Gainesville. He played at Gainesville. He had great success as an assistant coach at Arkansas and owned in Tennessee, where he won SEC championships. and he oversaw teams that were integrated back when nobody did that. He was known as a disciplinarian. He was the ideal guy for the job, except he wasn't. It never worked out. He took the super softs over, and 10 years later, it was worse off than it was. So, yeah, there's some history there. Let me just tell folks now that you're listening to Meldon Law Monday with Shane Matthews and Buddy Martin. You hear Shane every morning on his program, Pot Up with Matthews. We'll be lucky enough to be on with them tomorrow. I want to tell you folks, I want to remind you that my man Jeffrey Meldon is doing well. Went to his birthday party. Wonderful time there. Jeffrey is all gung-ho about the year, even though things aren't going great. And he wants you to know that if you have any need for law or lawyers, he's the one you should call. Call Meldon Law. Ask him if you want to get a review of your case or a second opinion, or if you just need some advice. That's what I did, what I do. I highly recommend Meldon Law. Locations to serve you in Gainesville, Ocala, Wilson, and Lake City. Meldon Law, they won't back down. Shane, when did you hit the wall? When was it you hit the wall over the weekend?
Meaning what? Hit what wall?
Well, the whole thing with the Florida. When did it hit you that this team was not going to be any better?
Oh, after like this midway of the first quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I could tell in your voice that you were like all of us. We were thinking maybe this might be the day, It might step it up, great crowd potential there,
Yeah, I thought the crowd. I thought that there was a lot more people there than I anticipated. It was a tremendous crowd.
Yeah, amazing. So, but all right, sum it up there, Coach. Gonna get you a new guy in there. What's the path forward?
Well, in the meantime, you just got to go try to win a game, and it's been a long. We haven't beaten a FBS team in 8 games, something like that.
Yeah, 8 games.
8 straight losses. I don't know. It's not good, and it's Mississippi State is going to give us problems with their offense, regardless of what their record is. They go fast. They run that Tennessee, UCF, Ole Miss up-tempo pace offense. Quarterback's very athletic with a good arm. They got skill guys. Defensively, they're not very good. But I will say this about Mississippi State. They're always a very physical team. I don't know if they are this year or not, but it's an early 11 a.m. start, cowbells, all that nonsense. It's not going to be easy, but we need to win bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah. I'm going to leave you with this question as we bring in Brenden and Loren Meadows. Is there any scenario under which you could see Billy Napier staying as coach?
My guess would be maybe if we make it to Atlanta. Or win 8 or 9 games, maybe 8 or 9. Maybe if we win 8 or 9, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I thought we were going to have a good team. I really did.
I know. I did. We all bought. I drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, but I went to some practice. You can't tell anything from practice. Never have been able to. So it's disappointing for sure.
They're just not nearly as good players as we thought they were, Shane.
Well, it was a combination of players, coaching, schemes, timely play calls, making plays when they need to be made. There's so much that goes into the game of football, and none of that's worked out real well for us.
All right, Shane, I'll talk to you in the morning. Shane Matthews, part of the Matthews, and you can catch him on the play-by-play as well. Thanks a lot, Shane. Talk to you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, let's go back to our I think we've got, look here, Franz is in, and I think Brenden is in. Let's see. I know Francis is, we got, let's go. We'll see if maybe Francis is not ready yet. There he is.
Not ready.
There he is. Yeah. All right, just checking in and see how you guys are doing. I just had a good visit with Shane. So much to happen. You didn't hear this earlier in the show. I wrote this is on the line tonight about I see a pathway forward now for this team. It's not good, but I couldn't even, like you, I wrote over the weekend. Billy's got to go. It's over. This program's broken. But I did have a chance to talk to a few people, and I got some fairly good information. I'll run it past you now and let you just weigh in on it. It's online now. I wrote the column. That is that they've got to find someone to take this team over. They can't do anything until they do. And so Billy will either stay as a so-called lame duck coach with the idea he's gone at the end of the season and coach his team out as far as he can, or he will take the buyout and walk away immediately, and they'll have to figure out who they're going to get it to. That's the problem. They don't have anybody. But I do know there's been some efforts underway to find a so-called GM person whose names that I heard you'd know, to come in and keep the program together, at least get them in through the end of the year. And one of them would not be Urban, but it'd be people that Urban knows. And that seems to be the most popular decision now. Find someone to come in and keep the house together while these guys make their way out of town. Salvage the players you can salvage and start your search for your program of identifying the guy you got to get. But at this point in time, the problem is, friends, it goes back to one or two names. And I don't think anybody else will be satisfactory with the Gator Nation. That's where I'm coming from. Your thoughts?
Well, I know everybody, the name, I've been bombarded with, we got to get Lane Kiffin. Well, I'm going to tell you something, folks. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss are good enough to make the national semifinals. They're that good. They may be good enough to win it all. Depends on who you draw. As you know, buddy, you can be the best team and get the worst draw in the semifinals, and that's it. But they have the best offense in the country. Lane finally has a defense. He's got the guy that, as his play caller, that everybody in the whole world wants. NFL, he's being talked about as a potential head coach, etc. I mean, a lot of folks want Charlie Weiss Jr. They say he is brilliant, and he's calling the plays. Look at what they're doing. They're averaging 690 yards a game on offense. My gosh, their quarterback is hitting like 83% of his passes. Jackson Dart, my gosh, they've got it going. And he's the guy that everybody is going to want. But will he go? Will he take it? I'm going to throw a name out there. A lot of people may say, no way. But I'm going to tell you right now, this could be your home run hire. And that is, I just see somebody put him up there, and that is James Franklin. He went to 3 bowl games in a row at Vanderbilt, and nobody does that. He won 9 games, 2 years in a row at Vanderbilt. Nobody does that. He's up in Pennsylvania, where he doesn't have a good recruiting base at all up there. And he comes down here to Florida, and he's got and as you know, not Wisconsin, but Michigan and Ohio State are already well established, and he's got to fight against Miami and FSU and Florida. But here's a guy that is a very, very articulate black man. I mean, when I talk about articulate, I mean seriously. I have been in motivational speeches and heard him in on settings when he gave motivational speeches. He is incredible. He is a guy that can sit there. He can charm white people, black people, Chinese, you name it. He is a charming, brilliant, well thought out guy who, when he speaks, people like to hear him talk. He's a guy that to keep an eye on. He's at Penn State. At Penn State, he's been there a while. They have, you're not going to beat Ohio State and Michigan. You're just not. That's just unheard of. You know, you may do it every now and then in the Big Ten, but it's just not going to happen, buddy.
All right.
I think he's a guy. I'm going to give you two other names that people need to pay attention
Bring
to.
this guy in here with us while you do it. Hold on. Just keep on.
Okay. I'll give you two other names that people are going that maybe people will hear about. And I'm saying maybe. And one of them is Pat Narduzzi at Pittsburgh. Rotten facilities, no on-campus stadium, horrible facilities. But look what he's doing this year with Eli Holstein, who is a reject from Alabama, a guy that, was at Alabama, highly recruited, and looked at what they've got and said, I got to go someplace. But they're playing some serious offense. Good defensive guy. He's a guy that could do it. I'm going to tell you another guy that's out there, and he's young, and I like him a lot. And his name is Rhett Lashley. He is the head coach at SMU. He's been 2 years as a head coach, but he took SMU to a bowl game his first year, 7-6, went 11-3 last year, and he's got a legitimate chance to win the ACC this year. He's a guy that is from Springtree, Arkansas. Coached high school ball under Gus Malzahn. Had worked at Auburn as a GA. Offense coordinator, Arkansas State. Offensive coordinator at Auburn. Offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach at UConn. Offense coordinator, quarterbacks coach at SMU. Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach at Miami. And now he's the head coach at SMU, 20-10 career record. I think he's a guy that probably is going to get some looks at. I don't know by Florida, but by somebody. He's a guy that's on the rise.
All right. Well, those are all good names, but none of them do anything for me. Not one. And I don't think they will for the Gator Nation. Let me just bring Loren here. Loren, did you hear those names? Is there anybody out there that you think would bring the chimes of Gator Nation?
Well, first of all, let me clear up some things. And guys, I mean, the one thing I'll give Franz is Franz does his research. Somebody said that James Franklin, we didn't want James Franklin because he was an offensive guy. Literally, he was an offensive guy his whole career, played quarterback. He was offensive coordinator at Kansas State, offensive coordinator at Maryland. That's how he got the Vanderbilt job. Do your homework, folks. And then somebody said Spurrier Jr. is good, but he's young. He and I are the same age. He's older than Billy Napier. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, let's start there. But I like Franklin. I do. And I think the biggest if the only knock on Franklin is he can't beat Michigan and Ohio State, nobody beats Michigan and Ohio State because it's Penn State, and Ohio State and Michigan are far superior in every way. Like Fran said, recruiting budget, everything. Those places are the Alabama and the Georgias of the Big Ten. It is the exact same thing. So judging a man by losing to the two best teams in his conference, like Fran said, he made Vanderbilt a winner. I mean, it's that simple. So, I mean, to get excited about something, I guess I'll say this about James Franklin, or lack thereof, is the fact that what if Lane Kiffin says no? Then you're going to have to move to those kind of guys. That's just the reality of it. I like Lane too. I think Lane would be perfect. This is Lane's dream job. He won't feel like he's doing Florida a favor by taking the job. I think I agree with Shane. He'll do great in recruiting, transfer portal. I even think he'll be out better, kissing babies and shaking hands, which I think is one of the big mistakes that Billy Napier made. I like Franklin. I do. If not, it's going to be a name that, like you said, Rhett Lashley, some of those guys that have done well, but they're going to be from smaller schools. It's just going to be that way.
Let me throw something else at you. And Loren, I think you can agree with me on this. Somebody threw up Joe Paterno there. Joe Paterno was in the Big Ten 22 years. You know how many Big Ten championships he won? 3.
I just remember 1. So
yeah, he won 3. So
Yeah, it's
Nobody has mentioned Lincoln Riley.
I'd make a run at him.
He'd be on my list, my secondary list.
but
I
do
would
you
make a
think?
run at him, but he's already making $12 million.
I know anybody you get now, you're talking.
And now that they're in the Big Ten, I wouldn't leave. I mean, personally, I mean, he's got the best. He got the best of everything. I mean, I wouldn't come. He's in a good place there. They got a decent football team. I don't see why Lincoln Riley would come to Florida.
Well, I'm not looking at who would come. I'm looking at when you make it. We're in their boardroom now. We're making our A list of people.
Wish list, okay.
We don't know if they're going to come or not.
Well, you could throw him up there, obviously.
And I'm just saying, when you're building your list, you start with Lane Kiffin.
Right.
I agree. That's where you got to start is with Lane, and I think you got to start with Lane. I think you got to throw you got to at least ask Ryan Day up at Ohio State. Would you like to leave that fish bowl for this one?
You gonna let that carpetbagger come down here, Franz?
Hey, he was a GA here at Florida for Urban Meyer, and Bob Redmond and I got his wife her job so that they could afford to get married because he was on the GA salary.
Yeah.
But Ryan, and here's the thing about Ryan Day. Although I got to tell you this, if Ryan Day is going to win a national championship, this is going to be the year to do it. Because look who he's got as his offensive coordinator from that New Hampshire Mafia out there that included Dan Mullen, Look at who his offensive coordinator is this year. Yeah. And Ryan's not calling the plays. He's got, holy cow, who could have been the Florida coach? Yeah, buddy, we had a run-in with him, didn't we?
Who's that, Franz?
Chip Kelly.
Oh, Chip Kelly, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it is an amazing story that those three guys came from that little area in New Hampshire.
Like within and grew up like within 5 miles of each other.
Yeah.
Everything's within 5 miles of New Hampshire, though. So.
Well, but guys, I mean, there are some good names out there who could be interested. A guy like Chris Kleeman, who's at Kansas State, and people say K-State. Well, look at him. He won like 6 national championships as the head coach at North Dakota State, and he has rebuilt the K-State program. They could very, very well win the Big 12.
France, let me just jump in there real fast. I don't mean to interrupt you. Think about what you're saying. You just hired Sunbelt Billy. That's what he's known as now.
Big 12's not Sunbelt Billy.
Wait a minute. No, let me finish up. You talk about a guy from a school that was not that well known. I mean, we knew about him, but the average person, I mean, you just can't afford to. Do you think Gator fans are digging their pockets for these guys they've never heard of? They've got to have an impact coach, someone who can rattle the cages of Gator fans, get them excited.
Yeah, like Caleb, like that head coach that they've got at Alabama, who's won all those national championships
I know.
AIA.
Well, buddy, I guess my question is then if the question is who would be the splash hire for Florida fans, it's only going to be Lane Kiffin.
I agree.
Yeah, that's your list. Maybe Lincoln Riley would be
your 1A.
No, he'd probably be a far behind number 2.
Well, there is no 1A.
Right, but then
Lane is everybody else.
Right, absolutely. That's where we are right now, and I think Lane is a splash hire. I'm not going to say home run hire because everybody I thought was going to be fairly decent. I'm still shocked Dan Mullen's still isn't the coach. I'm still in that shock. So, but I think Lane, just because he would be the first coach that I think truly desires to be the head coach at the University of Florida. Truly desires. I think it's like a childhood thing for him. He he saw himself. Like when you met me, was the only thing I told you I wanted to do through our relationship was do what?
Meet Steve Spurrier.
Me, Steve. That's all I wanted to do. I ain't care about nothing else. I think with Lane, all he wants to do is don the visor like Spurrier did as the head coach at Florida.
I think it's his dream job, and I think he would love to have the job if it works out. But there will be a lot of things that have to work, including a lot of money. We're talking 13 or 14 million here now, and I don't think money's a factor anymore. Well, all the money they can't afford to be. I mean, think for a second. Let me take you back to Billy Napier 3 years ago. We started saying, boy, they'll ever get that new facility, they'll start knocking them down recruiting. Yeah, all we heard was all these things needed. Let's hire 100 coaches. Let's do all this. Let's squander money. What has it gotten us? Nothing. We've regressed. So how can we stand by and just say, well, sure, that's okay. Go ahead and spend a couple $100 million. It's fine. I want something for my money. And I'll tell you something else, friends. I mentioned this to, I think I mentioned it to you, Loren. I found myself having a moment of anger this weekend. You all know I've been very careful about not getting my personal feelings involved with Billy. So I've always tried to maintain an arm's length with that situation. No, it didn't work out that I had a relationship with them, but that's so be it. When I thought about it, I got personal this weekend. I thought, why am I angry? Well, I'm angry because this is my school. I literally have a brick in this school.
Yes, sir.
Over there where they have those on the north end zone where they have all the bricks that you bought. Yes. My late wife brought me a brick that says Buddy Martin, Boys Won't Count. My point being, that doesn't mean anything, but I've done time here, a lot of time. And it's my school. I've covered it for 60 years off and on. And I've seen good days. I've seen bad days. And I just sat back and allowed, and Loren, you always shied me about it. Let a guy come in here, blow off everything that he wanted to blow off without being accountable for it. Just decide he's going to do it. Never even a half the time. And Franz, you know this better than anybody because you went to the press conference. Not willing to address most of the things, controlled everything that was said. His press conferences were, if you're lucky, you got to ask a question. He comes in and tells you what he's doing, and yet he tells you he's changing it, and it hadn't changed. It's the same. Meanwhile, the guy's spending millions of dollars, and we haven't said, time out a second. Can we talk about this? I mean, what's going on here? Because apparently Scott Strickland let him be accountable to nobody. I saw your column today, Franz. It was very kind. I wish I would have been able to write what you wrote. And you were very kind about being nice to Billy and thanking him. I don't feel that. I feel anger, Loren. I feel anger that my guy, Steve Spurrier, Herman Meyer, built this Taj Mahal. And we allowed him to come in and destroy this Taj Mahal and say, well, I don't know what happened. We'll try something else. I'm not okay with that. And I'm trying to get past that anger. I know it's wrong. Like I said, I wish I could have been like Franz, written a nice column. I didn't feel it in my heart.
But, buddy, what have we been doing since 2011? You think about that for a second. What have we been doing since 2011? I believe Will Muschamp could have been a good football coach had he been seasoned. But he wasn't. They hired him, and he was a bad hire because he had never been a head coach. And by his own admission, he was 3 years into this gig before he really had a handle on, from early morning until noontime, you're dealing with alumni, you're dealing with mamas who are pissed off because baby didn't get to play. You're dealing with agents calling you up, who are the street agents calling you up saying, yeah, well, my boy is playing for the such and such 7-on-7 team, and we'd really like to come up here and have a visit with you. what you going to do to help us out, with our 7-on-7 team? And then he's on top of that, he's got to deal with the people over in academics. Okay, who's flunking class? Who's not going to class? And he doesn't get, coaching. Billy, Will once told me, he said, coaching is like my vacation when he gets to get out there. Then you hire Old Yeller. A guy's making $4 million a year and can't spend the money to get his teeth whitened. I know people say, oh, that's ridiculous, Franz. Do you know how many parents I talked to who said they had watched him do his videos and they said to themselves, that guy does he ever brush his teeth? Parents saying that to me. I mean, you don't think people pay attention? They do. They do. Yeah. It's kind of like you get a head coach. Buddy, we grew up in the day when a head coach could come in there with half his shirt in and half his shirt out and stuff like that. No more. You better show up. You better show up looking like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. All right. Well, Loren Meadows, I'm going to give you a word here, but I'm going to first tell people about a very important partner of ours. Does a terrific job here. If you're in the market for an MRI, I strongly encourage you to go to this company and check them out. TitanMRI.com. They're doing it right. They're doing it for you. They're making these custom-made appointments for you on nights or weekends to fit your schedule. And they're allowing you to come in. And if you don't have insurance, your cash or card can take care of that. It's not unreasonable. And then they want to make sure that your experience in the MRI itself is not claustrophobic, one which you can deal with emotionally. They're making it right, and they're doing it at a good price. I heartily recommend you try TitanMRI.com. Loren, you heard a lot of talk about the days of Florida football. You are a Gator fan and have been, and you a brother in spirit. I was hit the wall earlier this weekend. Like, I don't even know anymore what's going to happen. I couldn't even give any hope to some of these people. Where do you stand right now on this, where it's going? Give us your take and let Franz follow it up.
Well, I think, I think that Billy we have a saying, around the hood and different things, keep the main thing the main thing. And the problem is the main thing is the game of football. And they've just not been really good at football. And when you're not good at football, I remember, well, I can't remember the timeline, but, and Franz can back me up on this, when Lee Corso was the head coach at Indiana, win or lose, you thought Indiana won the game. And Lee Corso was, just like you guys see him on ESPN, he was shaking hands, he was kissing babies, he was doing all the things to buy himself some leeway in what was the Big Ten back then was hell to pay. Billy I think he's made two grave mistakes. I think he probably stuck with some people a little bit too long in some different areas, and I think they needed to go in a totally different direction from an offensive philosophy. But the biggest mistake he made, and like you pointed to it, buddy, you should be angry. How does a man who has two of the greatest coaches in Florida football history on speed dial not get an interview with the present head coach for the first time since they were, running tanks through Korea? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And that's a big miss for him, because you have a lot of people that respect you both personally and professionally, but they also depend on you for information and respect you for that. And it's just a simple thing. I, who attend all the press conferences, and Franz may have, I've never been introduced to Billy Napier. He's never come over to me and said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Coach Napier. Who do you write for?" To me, like you said, Franz, about having your teeth whitened and dressing properly, all of those things are part of the big picture and how you get people to feel about you. And like I wrote in my article, he will have come and gone, and we will have never known Billy Napier. So when you're bad at football and you're bad at the optics, I really don't know where we go for it. I asked somebody this question today. Let's say that they can salvage this season and go 7-5, 8-5, win a bowl game, go 8-5. Most of us would have said at the beginning of the year that we would have been happy with that. But now with what's transpired, if they go 8-5, would most people want him to stay? They would have said that at the beginning of the season. But I think because of the optics now, they're done. And I think it's because he has done a very poor job of the public relations part of this entire thing. He thought the videos of the kids going to Japan and the New York Stock Exchange and all that, you got to go out and reach the people. You got to shake the hands. The reason people love Franz Beard is you can meet Franz Beard at a softball game, and he's Franz Beard. He's there. He's having a conversation with you. It's the same thing with Billy Napier. Yeah, all the kids are going and doing, but how are you reaching the masses? And I think that's where it is. So even if he salvages this season, which I would be very happy as a fan and even as a press person, 8-5, I'd say, okay, there we go. It was rough, but got some progress going. I want to ask our people now, if he goes 8-5, y'all shoot it to me on the comments. Would you be willing to keep him? And I think no, because the optics of this thing have been so poor.
Well, that means he's got to go 8-5. He's got to go 7-3. And
I'm just saying hypothetically, friends. I'm not. No. I'm just saying hypothetically.
I know exactly where you're coming from, and I'm saying to myself, he's got to go 7-3, and if he did that, holy cow, people would be saying, how'd he pull that rabbit out of the hat? But I used to believe in the Easter Bunny too, and I believed in Santa Claus too at one point in time. Goodness, I've been around a while. And,
wait.
By the way, to a couple people out there,
there's no Easter Bunny. Wait, hold on. There's no Easter Bunny.
No, there isn't. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry to break it to you, but let me pass it on to somebody out there. No, I'm not drinking alcohol. No, I don't have dementia. Okay. Goodness, guys. Anyway, stop with the attacks. I mean, give me a break. Here's the thing that he has. You can be Nick Saban and be aloof. You can be Urban Meyer and be aloof.
Yep. You
cannot be Billy Napier at Florida with 2 losing seasons and be aloof.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot. This is a job that obviously is bigger than he. And I think that there's a possibility that, he didn't forget how to coach. What he didn't know how to do was handle his circumstances. It's one thing to be at Louisiana Lafayette where 21,000 people show up at your 40,000 seat stadium that is in a campus that literally has its own swamp on it. They do. I mean, I don't know if either of you all have ever been out there. Buddy, you remember when we ate at Landry's out there in Lafayette? But they literally, on their campus, they have their own swamp. Honest to goodness. But it's one thing, you're in a one newspaper town. The closest newspaper to you is Baton Rouge, which is 60 miles across the Atchafalaya Basin and the Mississippi River from you. Your next one is Lake Charles, which is, 60 miles in the other direction. And that's your close. And they don't cover Lafayette. They really don't. So you're out there isolated all alone, and you can get away with just, okay, hey, here's the guy, Kimberly Guilfoyle or whatever his name is, comes in from the Lafayette Advertiser, and you have a conversation with him. Here, my gosh, how many, you go to the press conferences. I couldn't get there today because of taking care of my parents, but my goodness, I go to the press conferences too. You got 50 people in there. And does he know my name? I think so, but I'm not sure. Does he know your name? I think so. I'm not sure. Does he know Buddy's name? I guarantee you he doesn't. Period, unless somebody whispers it in his ear. And that's a crying shame. And I'm not, Buddy, I'm not trying to kiss Buddy's butt. Buddy and I've been around a long enough time that we've forgotten how to pucker. We've been around, and yet, how do you get treated there? How does And this has been an issue with Florida going for years and years and years. Florida could do itself a great favor. You hire this next coach and you say, you will talk to the media. You will have conversations. You know why Georgia got such good publicity? You know why Bobby Bowden always got it? Because their SIDs said to the coach,
it was in Brenden
you
program.
will talk.
And let me close with this, guys. Good job of all of you tonight. Thank you very much. Is that it just makes you realize, A, you're not that important anymore, which obviously I'm not. That's okay. I can deal with that. But then I start thinking about, well, meanwhile, what did he do? What did he do to come in here and spend all this money and get nothing for it? And he can't even take a question from me or anybody. Who is? And I wrote a thing, just one quick little clip on Twitter yesterday. I said, remember, these are the guys who didn't need any answers. They had them all. Apparently not. So.
Yeah. Well, Buddy, I know we're running over it, and let's run over a couple 3 minutes. I mean, goodness, have we? I know, Buddy. It's past your bedtime. I mean, it's
sun's dinner at some point in time.
The sun went down.
I was in Tallahassee today, so I'm coming down from the trauma. But no.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the thing. None of the three of us. And I don't think anybody that's out there griping and complaining now wanted Billy Napier to fail, but he has failed. And
epic.
And folks, it's not just Billy that failed; it's the people who hired him who failed him as well, because they could have made his life so much easier. Now, I'm going to throw one other thing, and I'll wait for you guys to say something. Last week, he said, George Gums is a great story. You guys should write about him. Well, guess what? Ask me when we've had a chance to interview George Gums. And when they do bring him out, they bring him out for 5 minutes of questions, and then they run him off. Now, how in the hell are you supposed to do a story on that? Give me a freaking break. And that's what we have to deal with. And they want better publicity for their coach. Well, shoot, let their coach talk to the media. Let their coach, I'd say let his hair down, but he ain't got any, but let your coach at least have conversations. I'll let you guys talk. I'm pissed off. Buddy, you made me pissed off now, and now I'm pissed off.
I mean, like I said, I think if people, sometime, once again, to clarify, I'm not saying Napier will go 8-5. I'm saying if he went 8-5, because he has not built up a lot of equity with the fans and others that have an opinion, would they still keep him if he went 8-5? Because we all said at the beginning of the season that we would accept and be happy with 8-5 because 8-5 would show progress. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to go 8-5. I don't see 8-5 either. I'm just saying because he has not built the equity, has not built up any goodwill, anything like that, and it is just it just hasn't been good. The football has been bad, but the optics have been just as bad. And when you got bad optics and a bad product, it's just bad for you. And like Buddy said, I mean, we could do this. We're going to do this a lot more, and a lot of times. From a professional standpoint, I'm going to say this, and Buddy, you said it to me. We've had private conversations about it, but I really don't understand how someone didn't pull him aside and say, have you talked to Buddy Martin since you've been here? I really, that baffles me. Now, maybe I think too much of you, and shame on me. I love you, but I also respect you and know the people that you've rubbed elbows with that trusted you to tell their story. And I just don't get it.
Well, thank you, Loren. Appreciate it. Franz, of course, is a absolute encyclopedia Britannica of Florida football. His knowledge amazes me. Franz knows everything about Gator football that ever happened. And I would think that he'd be a good resource for someone to be able to say, hey, what happened back there in Mississippi State when you got to remember? There's a lot we don't remember about what happened. They don't have any clue, nor do they want to know about it. They've got to figure out their own way. They don't need any help. Now once they got them, they got themselves fired. That's what they did. And they deserve to be fired because there's been an epic failure. And so let me just close off with this tonight. We said this before. My old buddy Joe Williams used to tell the coaches out of Colorado, and he told Dion the same thing. I'll be here when you're gone. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to be here when Billy's gone. He didn't have, he had other priorities. That's fine. Whatever. But when I don't know about you, but when I want to go succeed, I want a consensus from people around me. As much information as I can get. I think Billy was arrogant about how he approached this. Scott Strickland let him get away with it, and they got what they deserved.
Looks like I can't say that I'm disagreeing with that, buddy, that they got what they deserve. Let's be real here, guys. Will Muschamp had never been a head coach before. Ron Zook had never been a head coach before. But at least he went to 3 bowl games. I'll give him credit for that, and he could recruit. Will Muschamp recruited well on the defensive side of the ball and had an NFL defense when he left. But Florida did him no favors either. Now, he's not the one that chose Charlie Wise Sr. as his offensive coordinator, and that idiot we had Verduzzi or whatever his name was as the offensive line coach. They were horrendous hires. Then you get Jim McElwain, who in no way was ready for anything. Lost me the day he said, my dog Clarabelle can play quarterback here in Florida.
Right.
Are you out of your freaking mind? This is the school that produced 3 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, and you're saying your dog Clarabelle can play quarterback?
Yeah, disrespect.
You total idiot. You scum sucking.
You better go to bed, Franz.
Yeah, put Franz to bed.
I think about Jim McElwain, and that told me everything about where Florida is. He got hired because he's cheap. That's exactly why he got hired. They hired Ron Zook because he was cheap.
Right. Let me say
they hired Will Muschamp because he was cheap.
All right, one more, guys. I got to go. Go ahead, Loren.
No, I'm just saying nobody is talking about Billy Napier's character. Not one person has brought up character, guys. Chill with the character. Nobody's talking about Billy's character because we don't know Billy. So not one person has said anything about his character. Arrogance is not a character trait. It's a trait of the way you are as a person, and you can be arrogant and have good character. That is not the same thing. So everybody, either you with this or we're not, but that's kind of where we go. So
Billy's not personally arrogant, I don't think, but he is football arrogant. And I got to tell you what, there's a difference between football arrogance and there's a righteous arrogance, as we know. Urban Meyer had it. Righteous arrogance when it comes to football. Steve Spurrier had it. Righteous. That's why you think Steve Spurrier could say to Bobby Stoops, they're out there in inner tubes, and a week off before the Tennessee game, and Spurrier looks over and says, "You think them Tennessee coaches are out here soaking up the rays in the Gulf?" But Spurrier had a righteous arrogance about him, and he could get away with things like that.
I'll leave it with this. I got to go. But we're talking about how Billy runs his press conference, how Billy does things, he doesn't say. And I said to a well-known guy, I don't understand what he's doing and why he's doing it, because it doesn't seem like it's a solid way to me to win over people. And he said to me, this guy said to me, because that's how Nick Saban did it. And this guy knows Nick Saban. So my immediate answer was, this just in, he ain't no Nick Saban. Anyway, all right, guys. Great job, guys. Appreciate you very much. Have a good show tomorrow night, Loren. Franz, thank you. Looking forward to reading your next article. Thank you for all the good work you're doing. And I'll say good night to you and tell folks about WinStar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, folks, as you know, I like to sign off at night with my friends at WinStar, who are just about as good as it gets when it comes to being sponsors and friends and responsible citizens of Ocala, constantly stepping up to the plate to help people as a downtown stakeholder. WinStar has been around for a long time. My two friends run it. They formed it. One is Scott Browning's wife, Mary, and the other is Joe Sorrentino, father of Joey, who played for the Gators. Two fine people that do some terrific work. It's built around the idea of getting information from the constituency and finding out more about the collective health of our community. That's why they're so very adamant about the importance of doing these medical tests, and WinStar does a bunch of them. They offer opportunities for you to take part in these things. You can go to WinStar.net and find out. For instance, if you want to be a part of a session on things like say allergies. I have allergies. They have these tests which they run to find out what they can do for you to get better treatment for your health, and they're constantly doing them and been very successful. Done over 800 of them all these years. So I heartily endorse what they do. The folks at WinStar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Have a great night, folks. So great show. Thanks for all you people who stuck with me tonight. It's been a long weekend. This is my third show of the weekend. And let's see if I can do this right and say good night to you. Here's our, here we go. Folks, have a great one. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our sponsors, and thanks to our guests as well. We're back at you tomorrow night with Loren, with the guys. We'll be joining you, and hope you'll come join us. Have a good one.